Hello everyone, this is Kira, and I'm here to talk about, as a sort of extras video to the guide that I made a while back, although it's really going to be focusing on one thing, and I might make another extra video, depending on if I ever get any questions, but whatever. And that is going to be focusing on this tab right here on the events screen. If you just scroll down a little bit, you'll get to this one with Mitsurugi Sensei, or Furan, if you're familiar with her with either one of those names. You click on it, and this tab has very many useful tutorials on how to use the weapons. I am going to be starting here. I specifically made teams for this, although I'll be showing something else in a moment. But basically, if you go through this, I know some people can't read Japanese, but like, these bottom two are sword number 1 and sword number 2. Then you have spear number 1, spear number 2, hammer number 1, hammer number 2, and then this one, which we'll get into. It's something else. Don't worry about it. It's more practice, kind of, with the whole thing. But basically, these are tutorials on how to use the various weapon types. They're very, very, very helpful if you're new to the game. I definitely recommend playing through these. And I'm going to be doing the first ones of each of the weapons just to show them all off. I have specific teams made for this. I didn't really need to, as we'll see in a moment, but I still, I set them up. So, if you press this pink button, which is different from the usual just start stage button, it's the same as in events, actually, but this one does not use up an event slot kind of thing. You get 5, you can use a special guest for 5 times, as it says up here, during events, but in this it actually doesn't count it, or it shouldn't. If it does for some reason, it doesn't the first time you go through it, I promise, because I've gone through all of these, and there's definitely more than 5 of them, and you can use the partners each and every time. And I've also played through these after using up the 5 for the event, so I know that it still does work even after doing that. But anyway, so they give you the level 1 basic character. If you press this button down here, which I don't recommend if you're just going through it, since the whole point, if you're going through this without having played these before, the whole point is to test out different weapon types. So I don't recommend doing this if you haven't tested them out yet, but for me, I have the cards necessary, so I'm just going to press this button. And then press the pink button to go onto the stage. Since Subaru is my sword character for this one. And so this will basically be me going through these. These are pretty easy stages, and talking about the different weapon types. There's 7 in all, although we may be getting an 8th soon, due to Misaki being put in the game. But for right now there's 7. When we get an 8th, there's probably going to be an entire new one of these made, just to, practice that, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. You can just play these stages, which I definitely recommend, and I'm just using them as, easy stages to, show off these weapons in. And also because the game will give you, little hints and stuff, little sort of instructions on how to use them, but they're all in Japanese, so if you can't read it, it's not very helpful. But the weapons are pretty simple to use. I forgot I used one of the songs in this. If I have to make a second video, I'm going to fix it, but for now I just need to turn off the volume every time we start a stage. Just because I don't want to get in trouble. So, important thing to note for any all the weapon types in general and just for combat is this roll that you do. 1, very necessary. 2, you're invincible during it. Also, I didn't mean to do that. You are invincible, so you can dodge out of enemy attacks. You can dodge through enemy attacks. Like, you just gotta get used to the flicking. And just be aware that your phone may be like mine and not read it all the time. But anyways, it's very useful. If you just drag your finger on the screen, or I guess hold it and move it around, then your character runs around. Pretty simple. And to start the fight, you tap. You tap and then you get like 2, 3, or 1 of these things. And you basically tap it as they come down to the center. And if you see the pink stuff that popped up, that is a special attack. That's pretty much all of, like, the main gist of it. Sword's very simple. I didn't really go into sword that much, but, like, that Subaru uses a sword as in tech. Sword is very simple compared to most weapons. It's a close range weapon, but it has a bit of distance. You don't have to be right on top of the enemy. You have to be pretty close, though. It's close, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. So next up, just to save time, I'm actually just going to replay this stage. Yup. Nope. And yep. Okay. I mean, sword's pretty much your basic weapon type. Okay, next up, and I'm actually going to turn the special move off, is Spear. Also, if you press this blue button here, it'll focus on the enemies. So, Spear, this spear in particular is a 3 rhythm spear. Spear has longer range and also swings around more, so you have a wider area of attack with it. It does a little bit less damage than most swords do, but it's also like faster and more versatile, so they're both pretty similar. Just know that Spear has longer range and is a bit faster than sword is. So, one more time with this team. And then we're actually going to switch to a different stage, just because. Actually, I may as well end this off after the second time. Just because. I might decide just to do one, like the first battle stage instead, just because I won't have to go through the, would you like to pick a party, would you like to pick like a special guest party member kind of thing every time. But again, just remember that the tag with Mitsurugi or Fudan, whichever name you prefer to call her, on the events page is very helpful new players. And again, if what I'm assuming is right and Misaki is put into the game, then we're probably going to be getting an 8th weapon type, which will probably mean that there'll be another one. Like, they recently put, for newcomers from the anime, they put in a special, like, sort of tutorial stage on how to defeat some of the bigger versions of enemies. So there's, like, practice there. These stages are just good for practice in general. Anyways, time for my hammer type. Again, I'm going to turn that to infinite just so that we don't have the special effect. Now, hammer is a lot slower and is very short range, but it does a ton of damage, and some hammers kind of have like a wider range of attack, it seems like. It does a ton of damage. You have to be right on top of the enemy pretty much. But yeah, pretty good. So next time, we will for sure be getting into guns and rods, magic wands kinds of things, which are both decently long-range weapons, and then after that we'll be getting into twin bullet and blade cannon, which were not originally in the game. They came with 2 characters. But anyways, see you guys in the next one.